Okay.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Tuesday Morning Coffee. I'm Brad, if you don't know me, and this is my main man, Tony Woodall.
Hey, guys.
Appreciate y'all being with us today. We got kind of a quick episode because we've got an appointment in 45 minutes, a little bit
Yeah.
across town. But
Okay.
that just means it's going to be compact and impactful.
Yeah.
You
I'm
know,
going to cut out my stories about my mama and my third cousin, Leroy, and all that stuff.
how's
too, isn't it?
Leroy doing?
Leroy's all right. He's a little wounded these days.
Well, that's the best we can do sometimes.
Fish
So,
ain't biting.
fish ain't biting. Yeah, I hear you. That reminds me of on Big Daddy. Whenever he's with the girl and he's talking to the guy at like the child custody place, and he's like, "I know the catfish are huge, Uncle Remus." Which, it's good stuff. That's such a good movie. It's like one of the few movies that I've seen.
Really?
Yeah,
Is that Adam Sandler?
yeah.
Big Daddy.
Old school.
Old school.
I've seen like 6 movies my
Now,
entire
Old
life.
School's also a movie you have not seen, which
Correct.
is teetotal hilarious.
Oh, that and what the other one y'all said.
All those
Talladega
Tasha, like Talladega
something.
Nights.
Yeah. So
8 pounds 6 ounce baby Jesus.
yeah. I somewhat got that, but Anyway, back to the ranch. Appreciate you guys being with us. We're going to be talking about real estate today, if you can believe that.
Boom.
Based on what we're introing with.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start off with the deal of the day. This is a property that we got under contract yesterday. This is not far from Nashville. We're seeing pre-foreclosure as a motivation more right now than we've seen in a long time. And so I think part of that is the inflationary environment. People are having to choose between, do I fill up my gas tank to get to work and feed my kids, or do I pay the mortgage note? And that's a tough place for Americans to be in. But it's something that we're seeing. And when I was in Florida, I meant to send you this, but I took a picture. Organic apples were $6 a pound.
$6 a pound.
And a big apple can be a pound.
Man.
A $6 apple. Can you believe that?
So I wonder what a pound of apples. Well, I mean, yeah, it could be one apple.
It could be one really big apple. So
$6.
Yeah. And that's pretty wild to me. But anyway, so we got this property sub 125,000 on the mortgage, 3.25% interest rate, $5,000 walk away to the seller. So we're going to tie up $5,000 in this transaction. ARV on this is about 180. Probably needs $5,000 worth of work.
So sub 2.
Yeah, sub 2, $5,000 in cash is what we're going to tie up.
My favorite deals.
Yeah, we love the sub 2 deals. But we like all deals that make sense.
We do.
But sub 2 definitely helps. I definitely wouldn't pay cash for this.
Right.
But the equity's just as much in the rate as the price.
Mm-hmm.
So we're buying it for 130, worth 180, needs about $5,000 worth of work, but we're taking over 3.25% money. And so that's where the real value is, because
you got to love that.
Inflation, as of I think last week we talked about, the stated rate now is 9.1%. And so any debt that you have under that is effectively free, because you're paying for the debt and after inflationary dollars.
So even somebody we're owner financing a home to in the mid 8s or the high 7s.
Yeah, still getting a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
If the inflation remains the same.
Right.
So interesting times that we're in for sure, but great opportunities out there.
Right.
And so we're really excited about what's happening. But that was the deal of the day. Pretty good little deal.
Where is that one?
Westmoreland.
Oh, I like that area.
Yeah, Westmoreland. A little country town outside of Nashville, but we don't care where the deal is as long as the equity is.
Yeah, we buy equity.
Yeah. So it's so funny. A lot of the times we'll get questions like, "Well, do you buy 2-bedroom houses?" And I have to ask, "Do you not?"
Yeah.
So like under no circumstance would you buy a 2-bedroom house.
Yeah, the real question is, do you buy equity?
Yeah, correct. And so having a good understanding of what equity is paramount in the business. And what the real value of equity is changing because of the inflationary environment and what we're seeing in the market.
I've got a 1-bedroom, 1-bath.
Yeah.
That I bought because there was
equity. That sounds terrible, Tony. You shouldn't have bought that.
I know. But that's the one I got for $7,500.
Oh, hell. You paid too much.
Yes, a half a mile from a public boat ramp, the Tennessee River.
Yeah. And what are you doing with that one?
I'm going to owner finance it for about $95,000.
Well, you should just not have bought that, Tone.
I know.
It's that 1-bedroom house, and you can't sell a 1-bedroom house.
I know. I'll probably pick up, between $80,000 and $85,000 in equity.
Yeah.
And in the low 9s, maybe.
Yeah. Plus the interest.
Yeah. I mean, it's just crazy.
Just terrible. Yeah. So Tony's preaching to the choir here.
Ah,
Everybody here knows what we're talking about.
yeah.
So, but maybe somebody out there doesn't. So that'd be good. I want to do a quick apprentice spotlight. This is my main man, Christian. So
Christian.
shout out to you. So Christian found us because he wanted to get into real estate. It still is a public adjuster for insurance, and he ran into one of our insurance claims, and then another house that we were buying that was pre foreclosure. And so he saw our name probably within a month, maybe 2 months,
Right.
two different situations, and said, "Hey, I've got to see what this is about," and reached out to us and saw that we trained, and he already knew the deals we were buying because he saw the numbers,
Yeah.
just on his own accord, and so that I think created a lot of trust. And so he came in. What I want to say about Christian is he's perfectly normal in the way that he views lead flow, which is riding the roller coaster. So I actively preach against this and teach against this. It's very easy, especially on the front end of the business, to you get your website up, or you get your ads going, or whatever marketing channel that you choose, and you're up. You're really excited.
Yeah.
And then nobody calls that day, and then you're kind of down. And then you get your first lead and you're up again, but then they don't call you back and you're down. And
Right.
by the time you go through a group of leads, you get a contract, you have a title issue, then the title issue gets cleared up, and then you have a closing, and then you see that there's something missed, and you go through all these ups and downs that it's exhausting emotionally,
Right.
and it really really wears on people. And I went through that for a long time.
Well, I was just about to say, because I was lucky enough to come on with Brad really early um, in his investment career.
Yeah.
And so at that time, he was scaling from 1 to 2 a month. I'm wanting to go from 2 to 4 a month.
Yeah.
I mean, that's doubling your business,
Correct.
which is doubling your income, pretty
Yeah.
much. But I don't remember a lot of, um, and I remember a lot from back then. I
Yeah.
don't remember a whole lot of this with you. Matter of fact, I was doing this, and you were saying, "Look, Tone, just relax, man. Another lead will come in tomorrow."
Yeah. Yeah. I think a good part of that was because I sold real estate prior. And being in the sales side as a realtor, I already knew that, and I actually made a rule for myself that most deals appear like they're going to fall through at some point. And so
That is
then
true.
that was the expectation that I had. And so whenever that happened, it didn't rattle me.
Yeah, yesterday a guy asked me on the phone because he's had some struggles with a deal, and he said, "Are all deals like this?" His first one he's
Yeah.
going over. Are all deals like this? And I said, "No, they're not all as tough as this one's been, but all deals are like this."
Yeah. Yeah.
If they weren't, that people wouldn't be trying to give them to somebody else,
Correct.
because we're usually not buying a house; we're buying a problem.
Correct. Correct.
So don't think that they're going to just hand it to you and it's no longer going to be a problem. You're
Yeah.
going to have to solve that problem in order to reap the harvest of the equity that comes with that house.
That's right. And you're also dealing with people that, even if they're great people, they're not at their best. If someone is in pre-foreclosure and a
Yeah.
divorce and they have a health issue,
It's hard.
then they're not going to be certainly their most friendly or their most compassionate or their most understanding when it
Right.
comes to a problem that may pop up on title.
Right.
And so you have to understand the game that you're playing and the players that are in the game,
Right.
because a lot of these are just frankly just hurting people.
Mhm.
And so if you have hurting people, then you have to understand that people are not going to always be their best at every moment.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that we submit to them or we're in a position of subordinates. That's not the case at all.
Mhm.
But you have to understand that, like we dealt with this with Shannon a lot, like her first contract. We're still trying to close this deal.
Yeah.
But this guy has gone back and forth on closing probably like literally 8 times.
Yeah.
And has been difficult, and to the point that I said, Shannon, nobody gets to talk to you like that.
That's right.
Hang up on them.
That's right. That's
It's like,
right.
I'm
I
hanging
remember
up
that.
in 3 seconds if you don't change your tone.
I had a 15-minute call with her the next day, and she was so excited just because she hung up on the guy.
Yeah. Hey, that's a great win. That's a great win.
Yeah, it
because
is.
the guy's not to a point. We're going to be fair. We're going to be compassionate, but we're not doormats.
Yeah, the guy who's asking for help is not the head in this issue. He is the tail.
Correct.
You are the head in this issue.
Yeah, that's right.
And so he was treating her as if she was the tail.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
she hung up on him, he realized that I'm the tail.
Yeah. And whenever you hang up on someone or you're in a position of like, hey, you're not going to talk that way. If you say one more profane word, I'm hanging up.
Yeah.
And then they change, then their frame is completely broken from then on.
Yeah.
So that's a good position to be in. But back to Christian. I guess maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, he came to one of our support calls, and he was on the downside of that roller coaster. And I think that he'd had, I don't know, 4 or 5 days of bad leads.
Yeah.
Now keep in mind, guys, like the context is everything. In my company, we're buying 7% of our leads. 7%.
Just think about that a second.
Yeah.
7%
Yeah.
out of 100% of your leads.
Yeah. And so
That sounds just sorry.
Yeah, it sounds terrible, but that's all we need. And frankly, we don't want everyone.
Yeah.
So, and it's tough to hit numbers of 7% whenever you have, a lead a day.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? So all that to say, he was kind of on the tail end of the roller coaster and came to the support call a little, not disgruntled, but a little down maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And said, well, this is what I'm seeing. I haven't had good lead flow and, just crying the blues a little bit. The next day, pretty sure it was the next day he bought a house.
Yes.
And so I think he's at 3, maybe 4 contracts with us. He's been marketing about 2 months, something like that. That's a good start. That's a good start. And he's now talking about if I get one more, I'm quitting.
I'm retiring.
I'm retiring from my job.
Oh, quitting his other job.
No. He's definitely not quitting this. But his goal, I mean, he has a big goal, which is like, hey, I'm on the road all the time. I'm doing this insurance adjusting stuff. And, I don't have control over my future with that. I'm maxed out because, I think there's some semblance of commission with that. And he's working really, really hard. Guy has a hell of a work ethic.
Mm-hmm.
But whenever you're maxed out, whenever you're being paid, by the job and you can't build a team around it.
Right.
So it's really, really fun to see someone make a change that quickly because most of the time now he's coming to a support call like, hey, I had this lead. Hey, this is a potential deal. How do we structure this? And things can happen quickly whenever things start to work,
Yeah. And two, I mean, there's so much to be said for managing expectation as well. I mean, perspective leads to expectation. But then expectation will create a new perspective.
Tell me about that.
Okay, well, I mean, if you have I think about when I started working for you, and our deal was you were wanting to scale up to 2 to 4 deals a month.
Yeah.
Okay, a lot of our folks come into our program now, and that is their goal. Man, if I could just do some will say if I could do $500,000 next year.
Yeah.
Well, $500,000 is probably 4, maybe 5 deals for the entire year.
Well, they'd be really, really good deals at that.
Yeah. Yes. But I mean, it's not like it is you're going to be doing the same. The problem is a lot of people will come on and they'll see the video where we were doing $500,000. We were doing $1 million a month.
Correct.
So my goal is 2 to 3 a month or 1 a month. But my expectation is what Brad was doing last June.
Right.
And so that is a huge fall.
Yeah.
From if my expectation is every lead that's coming in, if you got, 7% of the leads you have coming in, if that did you 1 deal a year and you averaged even a mediocre deal of $60,000 a month,
yeah,
and $60,000 a month over 10 months, you took Christmas and New Year's off. That's $600,000 next year.
Right.
So the expectation, the perspective we have on where I really am right now in my career on starting this off right now, that creates this expectation. Whether we meet it or don't meet it creates a new perspective.
That's right.
I'm either doing good or I'm not doing good. This is either a good deal or it's not a good thing.
Yeah.
And instead of just Instead of walking down that line, I've got my perspective and my expectation. I'm going to monitor both of them. And I'm going to keep in mind, in perspective, what Brad's doing. I mean, the numbers tell themselves.
Yeah, 100%. The expectation part of this is really interesting because what I see a lot of times is people's expectation is not based on what they're doing, it's what other people have done.
Yes.
And that is the worst litmus test you can ever have
Yes.
because everybody's running their own race. So I look at this as, you know,
So I just remembered one of the worst days of my life. When I was about 10 or 12 years old, I went fishing and I had on back then, it was the summertime. I had on a pair of cutoff shorts and no shirt and barefoot, and
yeah,
just sitting on the side of the creek fishing. I wasn't catching squat for like 3 hours. I was sweating. This old man, about 25, 30 feet down the creek bank, was wearing them out. He might as well have just whistled and they all jumped out of the
yeah,
creek. And he's just wearing them out. So I waited till he went to take a leak and I ran over there to his spot right now and sat down in his spot. And when he came back, he picked his pole up and moved about 25 feet on down. No, he didn't. He picked his pole up and moved right back to the spot where I was. Well, he started just pulling them out, pulling them out, and pulling them out. And I sat there for 3 hours. I got mad and left. Went home, going to take a shower. I was eat up with chiggers
ooh,
from here to here because they hide in the dark.
yeah,
Not where I was sitting. I went and got his spot and stole it from him and wound up with chiggers. And he went to my spot and caught fish. I mean, it kind of reminds me of what you're talking about now.
yeah,
We're so busy looking at what somebody else is doing. We're not paying attention where we are.
yeah. That's 100% right. And uh, the worst thing that we can do is compare ourselves to other people.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what they started with. You don't know their background. You don't know how much time and effort that they put in that maybe you haven't quite yet. And everybody's on a different race. The litmus test has to be ourselves yesterday, right?
Mm,
So I think that there's a lot of parallels between business and relationships. I think there's a lot of parallels between business and fitness. Anything really worth doing, like sports, jujitsu, the things that I've put time into, and I can see the parallels. They're really amazing how deeply rooted the same parallel is. And I was thinking about this yesterday. So I got up pretty early. I was working out at 4 a.m. and I was
I'm not going to compare myself to you right now. Okay.
but I was thinking about it, and this is really what I want to talk about today: is the journey is the destination. The journey is the destination.
Yeah.
Because I started to make fitness more of a focus for me beginning of this year, and so I did the 75 hard thing that ended in May, and that was a really really good thing for me to do. I mean, I lost some weight and got much more fit. I went from where I was running 10 minutes at a time and pretty well gassed at that to where now I'm running for an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that I'm seeing, especially with the running side, is that it's no more difficult for me to run an hour now as it was 10 minutes then.
10 minutes in.
Like it's the same amount of effort, the same context of pain and difficulty.
But you're different.
But yeah, correct. The same input creates a different output.
Mm-hmm.
What changes is who you are
Mm-hmm.
and what you're able to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so what I realized in May, whenever I finished 75 hard, was a little bit of a letdown at the end. So we were at David's mastermind,
Mm-hmm.
and the next morning I was like, man, I haven't had ice cream or any alcohol or
Yeah, no
anything for
bourbon.
75 days, nothing. And so I got up and I ordered, you may remember, I ordered, I don't know, two or three dozen donuts from Dunkin'
Mm-hmm.
and
Right.
for everybody. And we had the big carrier things of coffee.
Coffee.
And I had 2 donuts. And then afterwards, I was just so frankly disappointed in myself.
Yeah.
Because now I didn't identify as someone that would eat that. I'm now someone that doesn't eat this.
Right.
And I realized very quickly, I've got to set another goal. I've got to set another goal because if I don't, then there's nothing that is going to propel me forward.
Mm-hmm.
And the journey that I've been on is the destination.
Mm-hmm. From the time you ran 10 minutes to the time you were running an hour now, You didn't do anything different. You did the same thing every day.
Yeah.
You ran as far as you could run that day.
That's right.
So the denominator in that deal is time.
Right.
How long you went of doing the best you could every day. The third day, you compared yourself to the second day. The 19th day, you compared yourself to the 18th day. Today, you'll compare yourself to yesterday. I mean, it's the point you're making is that we're not going to get rich on this first deal we do
Right.
or this next deal we do. We're not, the odds are we're not going to make 5 million. But I'm going to tell you what you can do. You can every day do what you did during 75 hard and continuing after that, even after you hit that little place of look at me,
Yeah.
and then boom,
Yeah.
and then what it did was that expectation you already had gave you a new perspective of the day you ate the donuts.
Yeah. That's right.
And then boom, the next day it's I'm doing better than today.
Yeah.
But it's you didn't fall all the way down then because you had built yourself up.
Right.
I mean, it's important the way what we're doing here with lead flow, because that's our generator,
Correct.
is that we're not coming to conclusions quickly about the rest of our life based on this deal we got, or even the last 3. I mean, we went through after we started doing 3, 4 a month. We would have a month where we'd do 1.
Right.
Even now, I'll say, well, James, how'd we do last month? James will say, well, we had 16 under contract, but he only kept 12.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's doing.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
I mean,
that was June.
Yeah, but we only kept 12. I'm going, well, that's 12.
Yeah. And so the
12
perspective
best
there,
ones.
yeah, the perspective there is really important because, James started off really January of last year doing, because the lead flow was split 4 or 5 deals a month.
Yeah.
And now he's doing 12
Uh-huh.
and there's a sense of disappointment.
Yes, because we didn't take all 16 of them.
Yeah.
Same thing happened to me with them Kentucky deals.
Oh yeah.
And I'm glad we didn't take them now.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's really an interesting thing. We can't compare ourselves to other people. We have to compare ourselves to ourselves yesterday. And it's really the same thing. Like, it's the same thing as compound interest.
Mm.
Right? So you take a penny, you double it every day for 30 days, you end up with like $4 million.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the real value add comes the last week.
Oh, yeah.
It's not the first 3 weeks.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good.
And so if you're doing micro improvements daily,
That's every day for a month.
Every day for a month, you double a penny. So you go, what days? Well, we can just do it. 7 days, you go 2 pennies, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128. So you got $1.28, day 7. Nobody would look at that and expect I'm going to go from $1.28 to $4 million.
That's right.
In 30 days.
Uh-huh.
But the real value add is on the end.
And the same thing is true if today you don't make that penny. You don't double that penny today. You're double behind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, and that's why consistency is key.
Yeah, and you might, and that's probably what eases us into it. We're 7 days in. We're only $1.28 behind.
Yeah, and this is why focusing on your inputs is far more important than focusing on your output. Because the input is what you can control. Mm-hmm. And this is what everybody misses.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I want the contract. Well, how do you feel about the triage call?
Don't get me started. How do you feel about the triage call? Because if that triage call is not held to frame, there is no deal. Or it's a sorry deal.
Yeah.
Or not as good as it could have been.
Yeah. And you think about across your career, if you're not capturing 10% of equity that could be through strong negotiation. So I say this all the time. Negotiation is the highest paid hard work and the lowest paid easy work in the world.
Say it again.
Negotiation is the highest paid hard work and the lowest paid easy work in the world.
Yes.
If you're doing the easy work of negotiation, you're not going to negotiate very far.
Yes.
But if you're doing the hard work of negotiation,
yeah, I'm not saying I can.
Then you're capturing far more on every single transaction than you would otherwise. And you take that across a career. And let's just say it's 5% extra per deal. What does that end up being across 30 or 40 years?
I look at that. That's one of the things I think that's difficult sometimes for people to do if they stumble upon that one deal that James and myself and you did. James and I let you be a part of that
I appreciate y'all.
that deal.
They came and said, "Hey,
That
we've
video.
decided you can jump in on this."
It's James and I's show, and we let you be a part of that today. And we talked about June of last year.
Yeah.
It was the first time we could have done it the month before, and but more than that, because I think the month before we let two go that we didn't close on, that we could have done and said, "Oh, it was over $1 million," but they weren't good deals.
Yeah, we were at 875 May of last year.
Yeah, and so, but then June, July, and August, and had to quit on purpose.
Correct.
Had to slow down on purpose.
Yeah.
Because you have to get rid of all these houses too.
Yeah, I had to pull the reins back because we were somewhere around 60 houses.
Yeah. And so when somebody looks at that on the first end, their perspective freezes at that point, and an expectation comes from that.
Yeah.
That's what I want. Well, it is what you want, but do you want the triage call to be a good triage call? Because that stuff's not coming unless we know how to hold a frame.
Yeah.
Those deals, and they are every seventh, they're every seventh lead. Well, sometimes they're every 14th lead, 15th lead.
Yeah, it's about 15, which is right at ballpark 7%.
Yeah, and for me, sometimes I'm so worn out by that sixth no, that sixth lead that didn't do it, that I don't get to the 15th lead.
Yeah.
Because my expectation goes south. My perspective is all blinded now. I'm no longer focused on a triage call. I'm no longer focused on the script work. I'm no longer focused on digging down and digging down and digging down, because it just seems too hard at that point.
Yeah.
So I quit at the seventh day, and I make $1.28 that month.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the difference. That's the difference. And we're kind of running out of time, but I do want to finish with this. Struggle is difficult, but everybody has struggle in certain context. And so looking back, my first 2-ish years in the business, I really struggled. I had a lot to unlearn. I had a lot of baggage in terms of, does this business work? I didn't think anybody would let me take over a loan sub 2. I certainly didn't think anybody was going to discount at 40 or 50% off their house retail, because I came from the world of selling real estate, and I thought, well, why would anybody do that?
Why would anybody do that?
Looking back, the biggest blessings that I've had in the business world were the struggles that I went through and overcame, because it gave me, I hope, a sense of maturity to be able to go through the next struggle. And if you're beginning to scale a business, you're going to have struggles. I mean, that's just part of it,
And you're going to have future ones.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And so I liken it to this. Tony's a basketball guy. I was a pretty good basketball player back in 6th grade. I made about 14 points that season.
6th grade was the best 3 years of my life.
So, but like you take a really, really skilled basketball player at the high school level. Most of the time, they're on the court. They're the superstar, but they don't really have to work for it.
Yeah.
And you take Michael Jordan, who got cut his freshman year of high school, and what that did to him, because he identified as someone that could do it, but it didn't happen. It's like, well, what do I have to do? I have to work harder. Mm-hmm. And I really love the Netflix. I don't know if you've seen that documentary.
No, I have not.
Oh, you would love it.
And cannot believe I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, you would love it. I remember those games, and to see like the backstories of what was going on was really, really interesting. But the thing that I gathered the most from it was, I believe that Michael Jordan is probably the best basketball player of all time. Yeah. And but I haven't watched LeBron, and I know there's a big LeBron MJ thing. I don't keep up.
There's
with that
really
kind of
not.
Stuff. Okay, cool. So, but I remember these games. And
it's only for the LeBron side. It's a big deal.
Well, I think, it's just a generational thing.
It is.
Because they never really saw Jordan play.
Right.
But I remember the shot that he took whenever he had the flu, and he won the game at the end. And how tired he was as he was like walking off the court.
Man.
But you look at, here's someone that's arguably, let's say, the best basketball player of all time. And what he's remembered for, whenever I saw that documentary, was his work ethic. Mm-hmm. right?
Oh, in the gym before anybody ever even turned the lights on.
Correct.
Didn't leave, and I mean the janitors have to come back and turn
Yeah.
the lights on.
And Jordan would get mad at the coaches if the coaches didn't have a higher expectation for the players.
The only other work ethic like that close to it was Kobe's.
Okay,
But
yeah, that makes sense.
But Jordan,
That makes sense. And so it was just really an interesting thing to see the context there. But had he not got cut,
oh yeah,
that never would have happened.
that never would have happened.
That never would have happened. And so keep in mind, guys, focus on the inputs and understand that your struggles today could be the biggest blessings that you look back on.
Oh,
in the
there's no
future,
doubt.
right? But you have to understand that the journey is the destination, because it doesn't matter what your goal is. Once you reach it, it's kind of a letdown. It's kind of a letdown. And you have to set the next goal before you accomplish it, to the point that and I do this frankly unconsciously, because I've talked about that first month that we hit $1 million in equity, which had been our goal for about 4 months. It was the last day of the month, about 7:30, and I'm driving back from Atlanta, and we get the contract in that put us over. And I enjoyed it for about 15 seconds. And I was like, I wonder what we can do next month. And I probably should have enjoyed it for like maybe a day.
The rest of us came into our next group meeting that we had in there, team meeting in the room in there, and we thought we were going to get to talk about this and celebrate, and you were like, yeah. So we're going to do it again.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember, I think it was honestly a mistake, but I remember having a team meeting, and I was like, guys, and I brought in the Open Door annual report.
Yes, you did.
It was about a stack of pages like this, and I said, guys, we've accomplished nothing.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's what I look at. It's like,
yeah.
These guys bought 2,000 houses this quarter.
That's right.
We did right. What, 40?
Mm-hmm.
We're not even in the game yet.
Yeah.
So anyway, but that comes from a sense of knowing that we can do better. And incremental improvement is what has allowed me to be able to do what we've done. And it has to continually be a focus, because if you're not growing, you're dying. So focus on your inputs, guys. Realize there's no destination except for the journey that you're on. Okay. Any final thoughts for you, Tone?
I'm good, man.
Cool. Let's go to this appointment.
All right.
See you guys next week.
Have a great one.